Welcome back to the Impact Driven Leader podcast. This is your host, Tyler Dickerhoff. Glad you're here. Glad you're tuning in. If you're a new listener, man, I hope you enjoyed today's conversation. I didn't realize that this month of October was going to be the unofficial confidence month. But between our previous guests and now Emily Jaenson, we're talking about confidence. Now, this is what I found. This is what I realized as I've prepared for these podcasts, is that confidence is waning in our world for a lot of different reasons. I believe it's insecurity that we have. These ladies, the previous guest and now Emily, have shared their experiences. Emily today shares how she went from being a telesales agent, so shy that she once told her brother to order pizza because she didn't want to, making telesales calls, to then becoming the first general manager of a Triple-A baseball team in over 20 years. It took confidence to get there. She shares in her TEDx talk that's been viewed nearly 3 million times the 6 keys to creating confidence, to being confident. Now, as she shares in our conversation, it's still a work every single day. I hope you find value from this podcast. Also, check out her podcast, Leadership is Female. I believe that we're each on the same mission to show that leadership should be done in a better way. That's my mission. That is what I aim to do, is help and empower those of you listening in to be the best leaders that you can be, to help others accomplish more than they thought they could. But I know that takes getting healthy. Getting healthy as a leader. One thing that I'm excited to offer, it'll be available a little bit later this fall, is a new course called Awaken the Leader Within. It's a snippet from my leadership roundtable, but it's so much more than that. It's a 9-segment course that's going to help you grow on your own as a leader. So look for that coming later this fall. I'll catch up with you at the end of this conversation with Emily. We'll wrap up and share a few points that I was, enamored by. Emily, thank you so much for joining me. Man, I'm excited to have this conversation. I've mentioned this as we were just getting ready for this. It's been great learning about you and kind of the ebbs and flows of your career, but really this desire. It's the title of your podcast, and I see it and I hear it, is to empower others confidently to lead, and especially women in an environment, in a industry where there are very few female leaders. So that's kind of the snippet. I'd love for you to run with it and really explain to the audience what that means in your words.
Sure. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation to speak and connect to your listeners. My name's Emily Jaenson, and I have a podcast called Leadership is Female. And I want to go back a little bit and talk about the origin story on why that podcast exists and what we hope to accomplish. So I'm a small town girl from a little teeny town of 3,000 people in the state of Illinois. And I was rural in my growing up, but had big dreams of what I wanted to accomplish in my life. And post-college, I earned an internship with the Chicago Bulls and got my start in sports, which as a kid who grew up in Illinois was absolutely a dream job, to walk past the Michael Jordan statue every day. And I got the chance to learn the business of sports. Later went on to work in nonprofits, then in marketing, and then I landed in baseball, in professional baseball. I worked in Triple-A baseball for a total of 7 years. The last half of that as general manager of a Triple-A baseball team. And when I got that title, I was the first female to have that role in almost 20 years. Now, when I got that position, I didn't really understand what that subheading meant. It was a job that I had earned based on what I could do, not the fact that it would make a great headline. And so I realized the honor, but I wasn't sure exactly what to do with it until about 7 months later. I was at baseball winter meetings after my first season. I got the chance to be part of a panel for women in baseball. And I talked about my career. I talked about having children and pursuing your dreams and leading a baseball team. And when I exited the stage, a line formed in front of me. And in that line, person after person said to me, "Emily, I did not know that I could have this role until I saw you." And that's the light bulb moment for me, really, when I realized that the quote from Marian Wright Edelman is true. You can't be what you can't see, and how much representation matters, and how important that is in leadership to really lead from the front, to speak out confidently, to share your voice and your tips, and bring others along for the ride with you. And so that spun off a number of things, including the Leadership is Female podcast, where I interview female executives and bring their stories, their tips, their tricks into your atmosphere so that you could understand, like, you could get there too. Why not you? And that's why I'm here today, to really share those messages in leadership, to elevate those around me, and to really talk about the mindset of moving from a competitive go-getter who is climbing in their career to moving into that leadership space where you are one who cheers other people on, where you support those around you, where you really empower and encourage the lifting up of everyone in your atmosphere, because we all get better when that's the environment.
To me, that's what that last piece entices me, intrigues me. That's my mission. I shared that a little bit, and that's what I align with. And I see, much what you said. If you don't see someone leading like that, it's hard to emulate it. And that's really what this podcast is about. It's about being different in that leadership style. So I'd love for you to kind of, what unique situations or what uniqueness have you seen that, really empowering women into that role that isn't necessarily all about women? Because again, there's leaders of men that, do the same thing that you just described, but yet it's almost unique in and of itself, because that's not the normal style that we've seen for a generation. So help me, break that apart, your viewpoint there.
Yeah, so I would really distill this down to kind of one of the key points that I make when I'm talking about confidence is this idea that you cheer other people on.
Mm,
So there's a point in our career where maybe we're earlier in our career, maybe we're still hanging on to that in our 40s. We're so competitive with ourselves. That's great. Elevate, reach your goals, do those things. But when you're continuously competitive with others, you're really not stepping into that leadership space. You're
yeah.
living in this disease I like to call comparisitis, where you
Okay.
are constantly comparing your journey to that of somebody else's. And we could never fully lead and fully serve if we stay in that feeling or in that environment. And the way that I have found that you can break free of those yucky feelings, like in your gut, or when you get down on yourself because you open up LinkedIn and all you see is fireworks of everybody else's promotions and raises and celebrations of what they've done, and you're reflecting back and saying, why not me?
Yeah.
Flip that script to cheer other people on, and it will change your life. One act at a time. Celebrate the success of others. You got a promotion? Congratulations, Tyler. I'm so pumped for you. I know how hard you worked on that. Someone underneath you moves on and gets a new job. It's been so amazing to watch you soar. I'm thrilled for you, and I can't wait to see what you do. Guess what? You start believing that, you start celebrating that, you start getting excited for other people's success, and you start stepping into that leadership space rather than comparing where you are to where they are. And that's where you can better serve and better lead. Slowly those emotions of why not me start to melt away, and you start to get a greater group of enthusiastic, successful people around you that you have the privilege of supporting. And guess what? They're going to be there for you when it's your turn.
You unlock so many things. So one industry that I've been involved in the last 12 years now is network marketing. It's a very predominant 80 to 90% female. And being involved in that industry and helping lead hundreds of thousands of individuals, my wife and I find that what you just talked about is probably one of the biggest confounders for people there. And, it's been presented to me, and I've struggled with that. That's, it's part of insecurity. And that's an issue and a barrier that I believe is huge in leadership. We'll get into that because I know it, in my mind, it ties into confidence. But one thing that I found there, and I'd love for you, just your viewpoint on this, your angle is how much of that perpetuates within women as a whole differently than men? Or do you find that that's unilateral, or do you find that that is something that you champion that really is a real limiting factor for women achieving some type of progression, some type of leadership role that men maybe don't struggle with?
So, I think there's absolutely men that do struggle with this, but a lot of guys are sort of blessed with this ability to not care as much. Not to say that they don't care about
Yeah,
their
yeah,
job or
yeah, I
what
get
they're
it. Yeah.
doing, but they kind of do it and they move on. They have other things, like it doesn't consume their mind, I think, as much as it consumes
Yeah.
women, which can be our superpower, that we're filled with
Hmm.
empathy, that we really ruminate on conversations and situations and interactions, that we invest emotionally in a lot of what we do. This can play to your strength, or it can hold you to the ground. It can
Yep.
really,
Totally.
really pull you down and pull you back, which is why I think this hack of cheering other people on, of celebrating your success. When you achieve something great, when you reach your goal, big or small, you have to celebrate your success in that milestone so that your brain can repeat it. It's
Yeah.
basic neuroscience is that our brain likes ease. It likes homeostasis. But there's this hack where we can kind of push it a little bit further. So
Hmm.
if you achieve a milestone, if you push yourself to do something hard or something new and you make it, if you celebrate your success, your brain says, "Ooh, we liked that. That was good. It wasn't that hard. We made it there." Well, guess what? You've moved the goalpost a little bit further down the field. So getting out of that area of discomfort is a little bit easier for you the next time around. And that's something that I love to talk to women about, because I've heard that, let's say you and I finish this podcast, all
Okay.
right? And people tell me that most women would finish a recording with you on your show, and instantly they would be like, "Oh, I said this. I wish I would have said that differently. Oh, I messed up when I talked about that." I have trained myself to finish this podcast, and I freaking jump up and down and I'm like, I crushed it. I celebrate that success,
Hmm.
and it's easier for me the next time. It becomes something that I enjoy. I focus on what went well rather than existing in that area of lack. And that has come over time by really celebrating those successes. And you can hack your brain to really focus on what you do great and do more of it versus operating in that area of lack. And that's a miserable place to be.
Man, you make me think of something, and I told you this for listeners that haven't cued into this, that my style is very conversational. I want it to feel like I told you, like we're sitting down having a cup of coffee. And I believe when that emanates into leadership roles and relationships, the best comes from everyone. And one thing that you mentioned there is this pressure sometimes that we put on ourselves to perform, because our value is going to come from that. And we're waiting to use your words, we're waiting, and our behavior is we're going to gain confidence from that, rather than sitting here and saying, "Hey, I'm in this room. We're having this conversation. Let me gain confidence that we're able to hear and add value to both people." And that takes a mindset shift, right? And what I find is so often, and it doesn't matter what sex it is, it doesn't matter what, however your makeup is, when people struggle with, what are they thinking of me? Did I say the right or wrong thing? That's our insecurity popping up. And then all of a sudden we lose authenticity. And I believe what you're pointing to is and having the mindset to say, you know what? I'm going to celebrate that I did that. I added value, that, I know someone's going to benefit from this. I believe when we act in that way, our authenticity and our genuineness comes out. And that's what people want. That's what people react to. That is influential, especially when it comes to leadership.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think you have a choice. You can care about other people's opinions and spend, your day in agony worrying about what other people are thinking about you. Or you could shift your mindset to why not you?
Yeah.
Why not you? Why
Yeah.
can't you be the one who reaches that new goal, who does that new thing, who signs up for that 5K, who sells more than they've ever sold before? Why not you? If you can watch
Yeah.
other people do it, you can be the one. And in order to succeed, you have to be your true self. So, one of my little
Mm-hmm.
hacks is I don't come on this show and think, I'm going to reach 1 million people. And only if I reach 1 million people am I successful. My goal is one person. If one person hears this and it makes a difference in their life, I believe in that ripple effect that it can have for the world, really. And so think about where you're sitting and what your mindset is. Are you thinking that everything you say and do needs to have some result that is so out of this world that it is unachievable, or do you want to impact one person? Make that meaningful to you. And if you're thinking about the one rather than the many, it's much easier to shift your focus away from what all of these other people think into like, hey, if I can connect with this one person, it might make a difference for them. And that's what I truly care about, is making that small change, making that small impact. Maybe somebody hears one word and it inspires them to do something new. That's incredible. So why not you? Why can't you make an impact on one person? Show up authentically for the one, and don't worry about this fictitious crowd of 1 million who's watching your every move. First of all, they're not. And second of all, who cares? Focus on your goals, focus on an impact on one, and think about why not you? Why can't you be the person to make an impact on one human?
So when did the younger Emily embrace that?
Oh gosh, it's been a journey, that's for sure. I mentioned in the intro, I'm a small town girl who had big dreams. I had an amazing childhood, but I was always dreaming of more. I grew up in a small town, two brothers, no neighbors, and I was super shy. I mean, I hid behind my mom. I hid behind her leg. I couldn't dial the phone to order a pizza. But in my mind, I knew that I wanted more. I lived an hour outside the city of Chicago. I dreamed of what a life would look like living in a big city. I dreamed of being the CEO of a company one day. I let myself dream big, and when I really thought about it, it was when I entered college. I was in for the shock of my life. I was at a huge university. There were tens of thousands of kids walking around me. I was in this sea of people, and I was this, small girl from a small town. And I thought, like, how can I make a difference? How can I survive here? And I knew what I needed was to change. And lucky for me, I discovered that you can change. You don't have to stay stagnant into who you were for the rest of your life. And I think that that's the coolest gift that humanity has. And I needed to become a more confident person. I couldn't hide behind my mom's leg anymore. She didn't live on campus, thank goodness. I had to pick up the phone and make a phone call in order to have a job and have a career. My first job was selling tickets. I had to make 80 cold calls a day. Do you think that small town girl who couldn't order a pizza could do that job? No, I needed to change and grow and learn and stay curious to become the person who I wanted to be. So I always kept the vision of future Emily. Like, who was she? What did she look like? What did she want to do? Where did she live? What did her family look like? What were her goals? And in order to get to her, like, I need to do the work today. And as uncomfortable and sometimes sweaty and just, make you want to throw up, the work was, because you're going outside your comfort zone. Your future self is going to thank you. If you skip the work today, you're never going to become who you want to be tomorrow.
So as a father of a 17-year-old daughter, and one who is getting close and into her junior year and senior year and moving on, and one of the things that I constantly think of, and I was blessed with this, having an older sister and a mom who there was no limits, and having a grandmother who was widowed with two kids and had to pick herself up and make it happen. I've never known any different. So this idea of that someone isn't or wouldn't be able to do that, and having a wife who is very driven, like there is no limitation to what she can accomplish. Where does that perpetuate in our world? Where have you seen that perpetuation that's like, oh, well, there's a limitation to where, as you have these big dreams, you had to gain confidence to get outside of that. And there was not this, oh, Emily, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. It's foreign to me. Again, it is absolutely foreign to me. I do not recognize it. It's not the home I was raised in. It's not been the world that I've ever been involved in. And yet I know it exists because too many people like yourself who have this mission to show people, yes, leadership can be female. Leadership is female. There is a place for that for everyone. Where's the pushback?
Yeah, I think that everyone has their own unique story. So first and foremost, like you have to believe in yourself. You have to believe that there's something possible for you and your life. And you have to decide who you're going to listen to and who you're not going to listen to, right? Like there's another version of my story where I still live in my small town, probably reasonably happy. But there's a girl inside my head that would still be screaming for more. And there was nothing wrong with like where I grew up, loving place, safe place, great place to be. But me, my mind, my life wanted a larger adventure than if I had stayed back home. And I could listen to the voices in my head that said, "Stay with your high school boyfriend, just get a job in town, go to the community college, skip the university, it's too expensive." I could have listened to those voices and stayed in my comfort zone, or I could have listened to that little voice inside of me that said, "Go for more." And I didn't grow up with a mentor. People told me, like, "Emily, you need to have a role model. You need to have a mentor." And I was like, who? I don't know who. Like, I have access to these people around me who are wonderful people, but they're not doing the things that I want to do when I grow up. How do I do that? I didn't even have cable TV, Tyler. I'm
No.
making myself sound
Hey,
so
hey,
old.
hey,
But picture,
you're preaching my childhood. I grew up on a
yeah,
dairy farm an hour south of Cleveland in the rural community, small little high school. I get it. Like you're
yeah,
telling me language I understand,
yeah.
and
And
I think,
so I had Oprah, right? Like I think so
yeah,
many of us had Oprah when we were kids, and I was like, look at this woman. She's doing these big things. She's making people's dreams come true. Like it would be cool if I could do that. That was like the first person that I could look at through the screen and think, this lady is living a big life. Like,
yeah,
why not
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. Well, I think you mentioned there the difference in mentioned earlier that who this podcast is for. It's really for anyone in the leadership space, but it's really, I look at it as people our age. I'm in my early 40s, and I know you are as well. It's like this people that we didn't necessarily view mentorship until later on in our life because we didn't have those relationships. It was finally and I'm speaking for me, and I think you're kind of alluding to that as well, is like, I didn't necessarily have someone. There was someone on TV, but it wasn't until later. And I think the great position you've presented is now you are that place. You are in that place to be that mentor, to be that example for what people can accomplish and do, in that gives them the pathway to say, oh, that is possible.
Hmm.
And I think so much of leadership is giving a conveying a vision to people and connecting it to what's possible. And how much do you feel like that's your mission right now?
Yeah, I do, because I realize that there are so many people out there who they're not lucky enough to have parents who are like CEOs of companies and who give them access to people and to opportunities, or they're not born in a city that has a professional sports team if they want to work in that industry where they can go to games early, get experience, join the game day crew at
Mm-hmm.
16 when they're old enough to get a job. Not all of us have access at a young age to the opportunities that
Yeah.
we look to pursue when we're older. So we have to figure it out a different way. And that's where I really talk about mentorship through admiration, which means like you don't have to know me, you don't have to know Tyler, but we're both producing podcasts and content that's sharing our vision, sharing our leadership strategies to help you. And good news for you, there's so many people out there like us that if we're not your cup of tea, if we're not your flavor, there's somebody else who is, and they are also on a mission to serve. So if you don't have somebody in your network, in your life that can grab a cup of coffee with you once a month and discuss next steps for your career, your journey, or unlock opportunity for you, consider mentorship through admiration. We all have access to that through LinkedIn, through podcasts, through all of these free tools on the internet. And listen, even if you don't have an internet or computer access at your home, your local library does. Like, I think the hurdle is so low
Yeah.
to gain access to people who are sharing their leadership skills and who want to share those with you today to help you level up. Because listen, if you level up like we all do, it
Yeah.
raises rising tides lift all ships. We've heard that quote forever, and it could not be more true today. There is enough space for all of us. So if you do one thing from this conversation today, find a mentor through admiration. Who can you follow and admire their career and what they're doing to help lead you forward in yours?
So you mentioned the tools, and I would be remiss for not congratulating, but also identifying one of those tools for you. One that started with one and now is nearly 3 million views on TEDx, your confidence presentation. So I'm not gonna make this. I'm gonna make this juicy in regards to where do you struggle most being confident yourself?
Yeah, that's the funny thing about confidence is no matter how much you talk about it, no matter how much you preach it, no matter how much you help other people with it, or how confident you are, confidence can waver. That's what
Mhm.
happens with the different attributes of people. Like think of an athlete. You don't have your best performance every time. You know, if you're confident, you're always not 100% confident.
Yeah.
So confidence can waver, and I think the first step there is just acceptance. Like some days you
Yeah.
don't feel as confident in your skills as other days, and I still have to use the tools that I've talked about on TEDx. Like that's why that talk I think
Yeah.
really resonated and was so authentic because I'm like, I'm still using these things all the
Yeah.
time. You know, I
Yeah.
might get nervous to do a new outreach to a prospect for a partnership or for new business for consulting. I might get that like dabble of imposter syndrome, like, oh, why would they pick me? There's so many other people out there. And I'll use something like 20 seconds of courage. Well, I'll be like, Emily, you only have to be brave for 20 seconds. You already created the proposal. You know what to write in the email. Like, type that sucker up and hit send. Be brave for 20
Mhm.
seconds, and it could change the trajectory of your business if you land this new client. And after you practice these over and over and over again, you get used to like using those tools and pushing yourself a little bit further. But I absolutely get nerves. I absolutely feel like, ugh, this one, I'm not sure. I start to sort of retreat backwards until I remind myself, like, look how far you've come. Like, you can
Yeah.
do that again. Use one of
Yeah.
these tools, push through it, and let the results speak for themselves.
You mentioned it, and to me the note that I made was from the movie We Bought a Zoo, right? The 20 seconds of courage, to be brave for 20 seconds. If you haven't seen the movie, there's a cute little clip where they describe it, and yet that's what hit me, and it's like it really is that, and how much that when we get to that point and being courageous, how it backfills our confidence to say you didn't die. Nothing bad happened. And actually, maybe something amazing did. And what I think in coming back and around and creating this culture where that's celebrated. Hey, I celebrate you being courageous. And I think so often in this position for yourself, whether it is being a podcast host or being a guest, that having that courage to celebrate people is actually a lot of fun. And it's
Hmm.
very enjoyable. And I look at that from a leadership perspective of not chastising people for trying. Oh, why'd you do that? But giving them belief and courage. And that's one of our greatest abilities and tools as leaders, is to celebrate the courage other people have, because not only does it affect your confidence that you're building someone up, but it absolutely can change them dramatically forever. And I
Yeah,
love how you bring that up.
you're reminding me of an example here where you can kind of use two of these different techniques. The first, celebrating other people's success. So let's say you need to go on social media, all right? You need to post something on social media. You need to do a live, or you need to do a video to talk about your business, or something with your brand. And it's very difficult for a lot of people to show up in that way. I call it the talking head. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to be a talking head, but it's like, okay, well, what are my goals? And
Mm-hmm.
do I need to do this activity in order to reach that goal? Okay. If the answer is yes, all right, time to push into that area of discomfort. A little hack to get there to help you is, first go on social media and let's cheer someone else on. Who are the other people who are the talking heads that are trying to tell you more about leadership, or share with you a product that they really believe in? Watch their content and smile and nod your head and give it a heart and type in a positive comment like, good for you, I love what you're doing here. Celebrate their success. You're seeing them do it, you're seeing them succeed, you're interacting with that content. Then to do just 20 seconds of courage for yourself to go live or post whatever it is that you need to talk about hits different. It feels very different because you've just interacted and celebrated somebody else doing a similar action. It's like it gives you a permission slip and sort of lowers that bar for you to hop over to do something that might feel a little bit uncomfortable, because not only did the other person survive doing it, but you thought it was great. Like, why can't that happen for you?
So that makes me think of Gary Vee's system or suggestion, $1.80 rule, right? I don't know if you're familiar with that, but he tells people to go out and give $1.80's worth of value. It means you go and find places to give 2 cents of value. And it's commenting, it's cheering people on, it is celebrating what other people are doing. And that $1.80 return is dramatic. And that's what it makes me think of. It's like wherever we're at, and maybe it's on social media, maybe it's, through a podcast reviewing or whatever, but that giving 2 cents and adding value to people and doing that within your business and as a leader, taking time out of your day, that's honestly my belief, that is one of the greatest things a leader can do to build their organization, is go celebrate and cheer people on and help encourage them to do more and better. And we live in a world, whether your words of affirmation, love language or not, people respond to that. They absolutely do. And this idea that I need to be tougher on people, or I need to be, have higher expectations, and they'll only, earn my admiration if they're, over the top and extreme, that only makes very broken, unhappy people that are looking for affirmation and connection and belief coming from somewhere. And if you're not providing that as a leader, they're going to look somewhere for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really simple the way that you've talked about it. You reward the good behavior, you get more of it as a leader, right? Like, celebrate
As a
that
parent
success.
too.
Reward what is good, and you will get more of that great behavior. Back early in my career, there were 2 sales prizes every single week. The first
Okay.
was the person who made the most calls. The second was the person who made the most sales. Every single week, the
Okay.
measuring stick started over again, and the person who finished with the most calls or the most sales won the prize at the end of the week.
What was the prize?
$100.
$100. Okay. And so
Cold,
each one was $100. So,
yeah, cold
but
hard
then you
cash.
won.
Yeah, every week.
Okay.
Every week you had the
Okay.
opportunity
Okay.
to finish first.
Okay.
So guess what that instilled in the
Yeah.
sales team?
Yeah.
Work ethic.
Yeah.
Make sometimes making more calls did not correspond to more sales, but every week the team hit at least the minimum amount of calls. Most of the time, you blew it out of the water. So we were always hitting that minimum benchmark. And then getting the other reward for sales was a little heated competition, right? Like you'd
Yeah.
have this energy in the sales room on a Thursday when two people were matched up with like the same number of sales. Friday would come and we'd all be invested. Like, who's gonna get the final sale to win the race? If you came into work on Thursday and you still had zero, you were like, all right, I'm not gonna win the highest number of sales, but I'm gonna make the most calls. I'm going to
Uh-huh.
show that I'm going to put in the effort no matter what. And you still had your chance at a prize. So, what they did with those weekly bonuses was reward the behavior that they wanted to see: effort and sales.
So what ultimately did that telesales role teach you for what you're doing now?
Well, it taught me a lot of things. One, I had to get outside my comfort zone to even make the call in the first place. I would have never have made it to as far as I could in my career if I couldn't talk to people, if I couldn't dial the phone. Listen, business is sales. You have
Yeah.
to sell something in order to have a business. There is an exchange of money. That is the
Yes.
basis of what a business is. So getting out of the gate at 21 and having to do that activity every day that made me sweat was a big challenge for me and something I'm so grateful for in the beginning of my
How
career.
good were the Bulls in the like 2003, 2004, 2005 period? Was that like their lean bad years? I'm a
Yeah.
Cavaliers fan. Okay, we've been on the roller coaster of life. We won't even get into the Cavs Bulls, but in that case, just remind us, the audience, what the Bulls were like back then.
Yeah, oh 05, oh 06, not good. Okay,
Okay.
we were not finishing in at the top
You
of the
weren't
league.
selling
No,
Jordan,
no,
Pippen, Kerr,
no, no,
Cartwright,
no.
you weren't BJ Armstrong. You weren't selling those games.
Rebuilding phase was a long time.
Was this
Was a long
this
time,
was
and
this was past Tuca. So like who was there then? Just play along. Who was there in that time period?
well, the only remnants I'll tell you of Michael Jordan was the statue outside.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
that
yeah.
was like so
Uh-huh.
long gone. And
Yeah.
what we did though, this sales team set the benchmark for the NBA. We were number 4 in ticket sales for the entire league for all those years with a team that was rebuilding for a very long time.
Mhm.
So that shows you, right? And also like it really shines a light on my minor league baseball career. You don't get to market
Yeah.
stars. You get to
No.
market experience.
Which is
Uh
amazing what is going on in Savannah, right? They
mm-hmm.
understood that and they're like, all right, let's change the let's change the game. Let's give
Yeah.
people what they want. And it's really it to me it's come back to a little bit what you probably learned is there's as much selling something but confidently selling an experience that people are going to enjoy. And if you
Mm-hmm.
can convey that, that's what leadership is about too.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because not only are you leading the team of people who work underneath you, you're leading your clients through this
Yeah.
journey with your business and with
Yeah.
this experience. What can they expect? What results can they expect?
Yeah.
How is this product or experience going to change or enhance their life? And it doesn't have to be record breaking. It doesn't have to be something so concrete. It can also be an intrinsic value. In minor league baseball, we'd sell the experience. Listen,
Yeah.
we have a professional baseball team right here in your hometown, or you don't have to travel too far to get here. You have access to future talent of Major League Baseball. But the main thing that I sold was, what's that photo on your camera roll? Is that an
Yeah.
experience taking your son or your daughter to their first
Yeah.
baseball game? Is
Yeah.
that a first date? Is that bringing your parents when they visit town to show them what your new city has to offer? What is that memory making moment that happened at the
Yeah.
ballpark? So it doesn't have to be an experience that produces X results. The result could be the memory that is made.
Mhm.
And there's something really special about that. So I'd encourage leaders to think about what experience is your staff having every day? How do they feel when they're
Yeah.
in your business, when they're working in your business? How proud are they to be on your team? And then I would think about your customers. How proud are they to be a customer? What are they saying when their friend asks them, do they like the experience that they've had working with you? What are those key takeaways? And are you living true to those each and every day as a leader? Are you showing up in a way that you want your staff to be present? Are you loving your product as much as you expect your customers to? That is a key component in leadership.
Well, and when you think about it from a baseball to a basketball team, or even, like right now, banking, we look at different industries that are, tough industries financially. When you have that confidence, man, it shines.
Mhm.
Everyone is like, oh, that I want to be a part of that. Even though it may be tough. If you have that confidence that we're doing something of value and really believe that and instill that in your culture, man, that will transcend any economic or bad record.
Yeah, you have to believe in what you're doing, what you're selling, how you're showing up every day. Really keeping that why central. You can't
Mhm.
sell a product. You can't lead a team. You can't be a part of a company that you don't believe in,
Yeah.
or you're going to be miserable every single day. So if you feel like you're at that crossroads in your career, think about that. Do you love what you're
Yeah.
doing? Do you love where
Yeah.
you're working? Listen, your time on this earth is not infinite. It's going to come to an end at some point.
Mhm.
How are you spending each and every day? How are you making the most of it? And I don't care what you do for a living. If you tell me, but Emily, I can't get a better job than whatever this one is that you have today, how can you enjoy it more? Because I've seen happy people doing every job on the planet. I've seen Amazon drivers skipping up to my front porch, leaving my packages because they're listening to a great tune and they get to be out in the sunshine and they get all this fresh air and they're not stuck behind a desk. They make the most out of that experience. I've seen
Mhm.
people in who work in call centers enjoying their job to the fullest because they get to, and that is the key phrase there, they get to talk to a bunch of people every single day.
Yeah.
Sometimes those people are very unenjoyable. And you know what that is for them? It's a good story to laugh at
Yeah.
around the dinner table with their family when the day is over. And the best conversations are those that they get to share with their manager and ultimately the higher ups at the company to reflect on what the company is doing great. Like, how can you create the best environment for yourself, no matter what your job is, even if you're not at the ultimate destination, even if you're not at the top yet, how can you make the most of what you're doing today? Because I promise you, if you are enjoying your experience, it will have a tremendous impact and upward trajectory on your career.
Man, I love that. And I believe it entirely. And it's something that you have to come to grips with and understand, as you mentioned, that yourself and the people around you deserve you. And to use one of your confidence moments is take the seat at that table, because
Mm-hmm.
everyone deserves that. You deserve that. They deserve that. And if you do so, it's going to show up in a big way.
Absolutely.
So one thing, as we come to a point to wrap here, you have a book coming out in the spring 2024. Give me a little bit more of why that's so impactful to you on this mission.
Yeah, I smile just hearing you say it because it's been one of those goals in the back of my mind for a long time. Is like, what if I could be an author one day? What if I
Yeah.
could achieve that goal? And it's going to happen in spring 2024. And the book is Let's Go, a guide to increasing your confidence. The TEDx talk really helped me to hone in on what the topic would be and how I could help and serve people who feel like I do. I know in my core that if you can work to become more confident, you can achieve more of your goals.
Yeah.
You can live a bigger, happier life. And that's what the book is about. It is how to increase your confidence. We talk a ton about goal setting. We work through your why. There's so many tips. There's a bunch of funny, vulnerable stories from my sort of evolution into who I've become today. I have so much more to grow and to do. But I want you to know, like, I didn't start here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Emily at 17, Emily at 25, like she couldn't be on Tyler's podcast. Like there's this growth and I want to share that with you. I also share a bunch of stories from my podcast, Leadership is Female. All these women have laid out really the roadmap for you to level up in your career. And then, of course, research as well by really intelligent scientists and psychologists in positive psychology who, you don't have to just take my word for it. Like, let's back it up with some data.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a helpful guide for you to increase your confidence and achieve your biggest goals.
Well, I love it. I look forward to it. We'll make sure we have the way in order to purchase that in the show notes, as well as a link to Leadership is Female. Emily, thank you so much. This has been a joy, and I just love hearing you talk about this with such a bright light in your eyes and just the smile that you have in regard to it. It's endearing.
Thanks, Tyler. It's been a pleasure being here today, and we're just so grateful that you had me on your podcast.
As I'm thinking about this and recapping the conversation just had with Emily, this enamoring piece to me is that how our confidence can be built through leadership. I believe that belief is the greatest superpower we have. Belief to me comes from confidence of what you can do, how you can do it, where you can do it. That confidence is built often through our own behaviors. But as leaders, we hold the power to put belief in others. See, we can help them believe in doing things that they didn't think they could possibly do. That's what leadership allows for. That's what I'm excited about doing this every day. I thank you for tuning in. If you got value from today's episode, make sure you go check out Emily's TEDx talk, as well as her podcast, Leadership is Female, and her book coming out in the spring of 2024, Let's Go. Again, thank you for being here. If you got value from today, go share this with someone. Emily's mission in life deserves to be shared with others. And that's why I'm here as well, to help share that to you and to others. Thanks for being here. Till next time, have a good one.